Hello and welcome everybody. This is Dino, lead game programmer from Kite Games, and I have the pleasure to introduce you the first in a series of tutorial videos aiming to assist in building mods for Sudden Strike 4. This introductory video will present the cross-section of the entire mod building process. It will start with an installation guide, then a brief overview of Unity Editor, which is required to build mods for Sudden Strike 4. Then we will build a basic skeleton for a new mod. Then, after configuring and uploading to Steam Workshop, our mod should be ready to be launched from in-game. Let us proceed then. To begin with the installation, you need to locate the launcher for the mod package. In your Steam client, check the Tools section of your library, find Sudden Strike 4 Editor and select Install. Select the location where to download the launcher of the mod package. Once download is completed, we can start up the launcher. Besides the option to install the mod package, there are two useful links on the launcher. One will lead you to a download site, where you can get the appropriate version of Unity Editor to build the mods with. The other will open up a quick modding guide. After selecting the install option, you can define the location on your machine, where the mod package will be unpacked to, and where you will be building your mods. Next step is open up Unity Editor and locate the installed package. Select its folder and wait for Unity to finish importing the package's contents. Once Unity has completed importing the mod package, which can take quite a while, so please be patient, it should start up and looks something like this. For those of you who are familiar with Unity Editor, should feel comfortable within it. For those of you who not, I will give you a brief walkthrough on where to find what. On the top, besides the standard Unity menu items, you will find a special menu item for the mod creation, one for advanced terrain tools, and some additional useful tools that can be used during mod creation. The layout of Unity Editor can be modified, so your layout might not look like mine. In my layout, here on the left side, I have the hierarchy view, which shows all the items that have been placed onto the level through their transform hierarchy. In the middle, I have the scene and the game view for edit mode and play mode respectively. On the bottom, the console will display all different messages and errors, so keep an eye out. If anything goes wrong, you should see information about it here. The inspector shows all the important attributes that can be modified for the currently selected item. There's not much on this level right now, but once we start placing game entities, you will be able to modify their different game properties here in his inspector. Finally, the project browser shows the entire content of the mod package. The most important content, maybe, is located under the folder link objects in the mod package. The name is derived from the fact that these little assets are links between the mod and the original assets of the game. Everything you place on your map will be either a vegetation that will be described later in detail in the video of advanced terrain editing, or a prop, or a unit. Props are little interactive decorational objects that can be destroyed, for example, like boxes, fences, or need to be circumvented, like barricades. Units are everything else, including all the vehicles, all the buildings, bridges, and even some special entities. For starters, let's create a new mod. In the modding, select Create Mod and give it a name. In honor of the ancestor of the original series, I will call it Resistance. I have a very specific plan in mind with this mod, so this name will gain sense later. Select the map size. Standard size is OK for now, and press Create Mod. Once the assets and the map for our new mod have been generated, you should see something like this. You can already see that a lot of important stuff have appeared on the hierarchy view, including the terrain, some folders to store important things for your game, a design object, which is very important once we want to write our own mission script, and a game logic proxy, where we can define different level extents to swap between while a mission progresses. For now, our default extent will be suitable, and some additional items that are needed to operate the game. Bear in mind that this is a different level that always loads together with our scene. Don't modify it, please. To have something exciting happen on the level right away, let's place two units, a friendly and an enemy. To find units, locate the link objects assets game data units folder, and for now we will place two tanks. One for ourselves and one for the enemy. You can use the standard Unity tools, modify position, the orientation of the units. Please note that units will always snap to the terrain, even if you edit the terrain later. As you can see now, both units are green, which means both are friendly. To change that, go to the inspector of the selected unit, check its unit state, and change its player. Now this is an enemy unit. Let's save the level. Before we can test the level, and every time we modify something terrain related, we need to generate the terrain metadata. Let's do this now, and once the process has finished, we can start our level. To test the level inside the editor, all we need to do is press play. And right away we can go ahead and play around with our new tank. Once we're done our testing, we press play again to return to editing mode. You can place all the other types of objects into the level in a similar way, be it buildings, props, or bridges, or any other landmark item. Please bear in mind that large structures like buildings, props, and bridges will require your terrain metadata to be regenerated before they can be fully functional in the game. When working with game entities, all standard Unity editor operations apply. Including undo and redo. Now that we know how to place toys on the level, let's see how to create a playground for them. And for that, let's see the basics of terrain editing. By default, terrain editing is turned off in order to prevent accidental terrain selection. Enable terrain editing and instantly you get the standard Unity terrain editing toolset with height map, increase, lower, leveling, and smoothing. Please bear in mind, whatever height map you paint, the units will follow it. There is no automatic slope restriction. If you want to have restricting slopes, you will have to paint the restrictions manually, which we'll discuss a little bit later, or place objects that will do the restrictions automatically. The next thing you might want to do is paint some terrain textures, for which you can use the standard Unity Splat Texture Painter tool. The mod package comes with several sample textures you can use, but these are raw assets, so you can always add your own assets to it. Please bear in mind that whatever texture you paint is simply aesthetics. If you want to give them a meaning, you will have to put surface areas on top of it to provide the meta information needed to change the terrain's behavior. Now that we have some visuals in place, let's give our terrain some meaning. By default, the terrain type is field, which is a neutral terrain type. To define a different terrain, we need to place a so-called surface area, which is a composite object comprised of a central object and several nodes. The nodes can be used to define the outline of the actual object. It is a common trait with composite entities that the visibility of the objects themselves and their nodes can be customized in detail through the submenus of the kite menu item. For example, how to display overlapping areas, or how large you want the nodes to be. Also make sure not to turn your areas inside out while working with them, otherwise they will simply disappear. Now that we have our area in place, let me walk you through the different terrain types that can be used with it. Field is the neutral terrain type, and it has no additional effects. Wheat field and light vegetation will give cover bonuses to infantries, as well as dense vegetation. You usually want to plant some plants on top of these, which will be covered in the advanced terrain editing video later. Dense vegetation has the additional effect of not letting vehicles through. Dirt and solid road will give vehicles a slight speed bonus when moving on top of them. Mud is a very dangerous terrain type that will heavily slow down both vehicles and infantry, and vehicles will eventually get stuck in them, given they spend enough time in it. Snow means deep snow and will heavily slow down both vehicles and infantry. Ford is shallow water and has no restriction on movement. Bridge is a special terrain type and not usually used manually. Destroyed vegetation can denote an area where plants used to grow but have been trampled by vehicles or explosions. Riverbed is generated automatically by the system when the terrain metadata is built. They are placed on the bottom of lakes and rivers. Light ruin and dense ruin are similar to light and dense vegetation, but for urban areas. Restricting ruin, in addition, will allow no movement on top of it. Infantry-only field is a very special type of field. It will not allow vehicles to pass through, and it can be used to denote islands in areas that shouldn't be allowed to be reached by vehicles. For example, a clearing in the middle of a deep forest. Shallow mud is a type of mud that will not have vehicles stuck. Ice is a very special terrain type and is not usually used manually. Mud and shallow mud with light vegetation are the same terrain types as mud and shallow mud respectively, but with the additional cover bonus to infantry from vegetation. Infantry-only ford is a shallow water that will only let infantry through. Swamp and swamp with light vegetation are very similar to mud and mud with light vegetation, with the additional effect of having it covered with water and having water effects on impacts and movement. Infantry-only light vegetation is a type of light vegetation that will not let vehicles pass through. For this example, I will denote this area as mud. In order to take effect, I must not forget to regenerate the terrain meta information. Now with our little trap laid, we should be able to lure the enemy. And have them get stuck in the mud. Well done. Now that we have completed this extremely intricate level, it's time to publish it to Steam Workshop. First of all, let's create a snapshot of the map that will be used for a minimap in the game. You can always check the in-game UI whether your snapshot is present there. Save the level. You can generate the terrain metadata for safety, and all that's left is publish. If you don't see the entire content of the publishing window, just open it up. Give it a title, a description, give it a preview image. And all we have left is press publish. The publishing process is maybe the most complicated part and also the most fragile of the entire process. We have to recompile the entire script multiple times, and in order for Unity to restore to the proper state, there is a little file that is saved in the project folder. In case you have any problems during the publishing process, you can either publish again, in which case Unity will try to resume at the state where the issue happened, or you can make it restart by deleting the mod publisher state file from inside the mod package folder. It seems our mod has been published, so let's check it out in Steam Workshop. To find the Steam Workshop page of the game, just go to your Sudden Strike 4 in your library and select Browse Workshop. Here you will be able to find all the files you have submitted, and here is our new mod, and let's select Subscribed. From this point on, Steam will download the mod to our machine locally, and we will be able to launch it from the game. So let's check out the mods in the game, and here is already our new mod. You might need to wait a little bit until the mod downloads. And let us start it up. And hopefully all our hard work will pay out very soon. And there you go.
Einsatzbereit, Kommandant. Löschen Sie aus! Zu Befehl. In Bewegung, Kommandant.
Well done. I hope this short introduction will prove helpful for everyone in their first steps towards creating their mods in Sudden Strike 4. I hope to see your mod levels in Steam Workshop soon and have fun creating them. I invite you to join me in the next video when we will discuss terrain editing in much more detail. See you around!